Yo, what is it? You already know what it is, man. This is your man, Levon. Just coming back one more again, man, with your Monday motivational message. You dig? And on today's Monday motivational message, I want to motivate you and me to take personal responsibility. Now, I know I've kind of touched on this subject a little bit, but today I'm going to go in a little bit more detail, right? About taking responsibility for your actions, what that means and what that looks like, and some of the ramifications behind it. You dig? But before we get into that video, you already know the routine, man. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you're always notified whenever I upload content. You dig? Because first of all, it's free. It don't cost you nothing just to hit a button or to move a cursor. Second of all, it helps get the information out. You dig? So if you're watching for more than 30 seconds, go ahead and hit the like button and the share button and subscribe to the channel. All right, now let's get into the video. All right, so first, let me give you my take on personal responsibility. You dig? Before we go into the reason why I made this video and then followed up with the word. My personal take is this. If you are over 18 years old, you're considered an adult. Now, notice I did not say that you have the mentality of an adult. You have the tools and the know-how to behave oneself as an adult should, according to society, according to, parameters set in place, moral compasses and codes, things like this, religious things. So there's things in place, right, to guide us, to teach us, to instruct us on how we should behave as an adult when it comes to personal responsibility and morality and things like this, right? We've been learning this all our lives. We've been taught this in school. We've heard this over and over and over. And though there may be some variations, right, there may be some differences as far as cultural differences as far as what's taught and what's not, how you should approach things and what's not, because we all understand that in today's society, though it shouldn't have to be said, it's a very true fact. Racism still exists. White people cannot do what black people do. Black people cannot do what white people do. Why? Because we've seen the ramifications from it, right? When black folks try to do what non-black folks do, they seem to come out worse off. Let me just put it that way. But when non-blacks do what black folks do, there's either no repercussions or it's all of a sudden then glorified because it's done by a non-black. You dig? And we just leave it at that. All right? So, where personal responsibility comes in at for me is that you've been taught, you've been schooled. A lot of people say, well, what if you didn't grow up in a house with parents? Okay. There's a lot of people that didn't grow up in a house with a mom or a dad or both, right? But they have moral standards. They have a moral compass, all right? It's my belief. There are few out there that do not, but it's my belief that most people have a sense of morality and they have a standard, they have a code, right? But how funny is it that we can judge people based upon this standard or this moral compass or code, right? We can judge people, we can point out what they're doing wrong, what they should be doing. If I was in their position, this is what I would do. We can point out all those things. We can see those things. But it's funny when stuff is going on right up under your front nose, right in your house, right under your roof. Things that are coming out of your mouth and things that you think in your head, things that are rooted deep in your heart, that those are the things that we never want to talk about. Those are the things that we never want to judge ourselves on and we never want to examine ourselves on. You ever peep that? How you can look at something, you can see something, and you can have a judgment on it. right? You might have been watching just for a few minutes, and you make a judgment. You make an assessment, right? You may not have all the facts. You may not know all the ins and outs, but just based on what you see and maybe what you heard, you make a judgment. You may not voice it. It may be inside. You may think it, but most of us make a judgment, right? That's not having all the facts and knowing everything. So, when it comes to personal responsibility, the only facts that you know are yours. The only for sure, accurate, and true facts that you have are yours because you were involved in it. You had something to do with it, right? And no one else can take responsibility for your actions. You got to do that. See, check this out, man. The days of being responsible for your children's actions, those days is gone. Okay, those days have long passed. The father and the mother aren't held responsible for the children's actions when they're grown. Now, when they're minors, that's different. We ain't talking about minors. We talking about grown people. When you are over the age of 18 and you are doing things that you shouldn't be doing or are questionable, it's not the parent's responsibility to pay for the sins of the child. You have to stand on your own 2 feet as an adult. You dig? Because no one's going to stand before you when God judges you for your actions of your life. You got to stand there all on your lonesome. So those days of, kids doing stuff, but they grown now. And then people looking, instead of looking at them and say, why are you doing that? And holding them to be accountable for their actions, they will look toward the parent. Well, what did you do wrong? Well, what didn't you do? Well, why didn't you raise them this way? Right? This is how society does instead of holding that person accountable. Okay, let's take something modern. Let's take something modern that you guys are probably familiar with, right? Let's take the case where the young brother got killed, the Ahmaud Arbery case, right? Now, this brother was just, he was just RWB. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't bothering nobody. He was minding his own business. He was just RWB. But we see that RWB is not cool. Running while black is not cool. You know what I'm saying? This man didn't have no weapon. He didn't say nothing to his attackers. He didn't say, stop, what are you doing? Why are you doing this to me? Say nothing. Because it's on record. It's on video. Okay? He didn't throw away anything while he was running, like he had a weapon or he tossed something to the side or something like that, right? Okay. All this man was doing was jogging in the neighborhood. But because he was black and because running while black, RWB, in that particular part of the country ain't cool, they decided that they wanted to do what they did to this black guy. Now, if you've been familiar with the case and you've been following the case, okay, these non-blacks have not taken responsibility for their actions, right? But instead, everyone wants to point the finger at everybody else, at Ahmaud Arbery, who got killed, the victim. They want to point the fingers at other people around instead of saying, no, we saw this black kid running. We never questioned him. We never asked who he was, why he was in the area, what was he doing. We never made a citizen's arrest. We never did any of that. All we did is ran him down, told him to stop, and attempted to kill him when he tried to fight back. So they refuse to take personal responsibility. They still have refused to take personal responsibility. And we see in the case how that's playing out, right? Okay, if that's not good enough, I'll give you another example. Just happened over the weekend with Travis Scott. And I know everyone's familiar with that name. Now, I was not. So I didn't know who Travis Scott was. I've heard the name, but I've never seen his face. I'd never listened to any of his music. I didn't know anything about this cat, where he's from, where he's born, none of that, right? But even in this case, where he had a concert and people wind up dead from being trampled, there was no gunshots, there was no kind of weapons and like that. People wind up being killed because they were trampled, right? And you ask yourself, well, why is no one taking personal responsibility as far as those that bought tickets to go to the concert? Why is all the blame being put on the rapper or the promoters or security? All the blame is being dished out on everybody else except where it should be, which is the people that were there at the concert that were acting a fool. So my question is, again, where is the responsibility with each individual that was at that concert? Where is it at? Why you don't hear the news saying anything about those people? They'll talk about security team. They'll talk about there wasn't enough barricades or whatever the case is. They'll talk about the promotion didn't do their job in promoting it properly. They talk about the artist didn't do his job. He was supposed to some kind of way control the crowd, right? And how when a person was hurt, he continued on with the concert. My question is, again, this is to the media, CNN, NBC, CBS, all the cable channels. Where is the freaking personal responsibility for those that were there? Didn't nobody put that artist, Travis Scott, didn't put a gun in nobody's head and say, do this and do that. He didn't threaten nobody, do this and do that. He didn't offer to give nobody no money or some kind of prize or award or some kind of benefit to do this and do that. Why we don't blame the people that were there? Why we don't hold the people that actually bought a ticket accountable? Why we don't hold the people that were actually at the concert before it started? And all this is on camera with all these people bum rushing, breaking down, jumping over the barricades and running into this concert. Their faces are on camera. Why they're not being held responsible? The same way that the FBI and everybody else went out supposedly and investigated all these people that were on camera that violated our Capitol building. All those people faces on camera. So why not go after these same people at this concert for being irresponsible, for not acting morally? Okay? I guarantee you half them folks was drunk. They was high. They was on some kind of hallucinogens. They was on some kind of pills. Okay? Think about the crowd that listened to Travis Scott music and that would go buy a ticket and go to his concert, knowing the type of environment that his concerts are, like a mosh pit or whatever the case is. But where the heck is a personal responsibility for the folks that were there at the concert, man? That's my question. You went online and bought a ticket. You drove your car to the parking lot. You decided to get out of your car and go up to the concert. Now, whether you waited to get in or whether you bum rushed and jumped over like everybody, you made that decision. Now you get into the concert. You're chilling, you listen to the music. It's getting kind of, rough and rowdy. At any point, you could have chose to leave. But you didn't. You stayed. At any point where you thought things were getting out of hand, you could have bounced. But you didn't. You participated. So again, where is the personal responsibility for those that bought tickets to this concert? We don't like to talk about that. And I think it's unfair to blame everyone else instead of where the blame should lie, which is on the people that actually did the acts, they need to be held accountable. The Bible says in the book of Romans, and I believe it's the 14th chapter, I think the 12th verse, where it says that we all will have to give an account unto God. Okay? That's a personal, individual account for your actions. Be responsible for your actions and don't hold others accountable for things that you did. Be a man or a woman. Stand up for what you've done. Be accountable and raise your hand when there's been a mistake or a mess up, and take responsibility. God will honor that, and so will other people. Okay? But we have to do the right thing and be responsible. Yo, this is your man, Levon. This has been your Monday motivational message. Remember, love, uplift, motivate, inspire, learn, laugh, encourage, and enlighten. LaMelaE.com. Be blessed today. Take responsibility for your actions. And yo, just as a side note, when you take responsibility for your actions, what you're doing is you are showing maturity. You're showing maturity. You're showing a level of intelligence. You're showing a level of accountability. And you're showing that you are a mature and responsible person because you are taking responsibility. You are laying claim. You're laying hold of your actions. You're not blaming anyone else. You're not looking at anyone else. You're not trying to redirect anyone else. You're not trying to take the focus off of you. But you yourself are drawing the focus to you by saying, hey, it was me. That was my fault. My bad. I did that. I'm sorry. I apologize. Didn't mean to offend. How can I make this right? That's taking responsibility for your actions. And if more of us did that and said, hey, my bad. That was my fault. I made that decision. It wasn't the right decision. Or I gave the okay for that, and probably I should have thought about it more. Or, you know what, that probably was clearly was the wrong decision. And I was the one that gave the okay for it. So let me take responsibility. When we do that as men and women, I'm not even talking about men and women of God. I'm just talking about as men and women, as human beings. When we take responsibility for our actions, then that's when we'll see the moral fabric of this country start to change. And when we take responsibility for our actions as men and women of God, then that's when we'll start to see a spiritual change. Just my 2 cents on it, man. Anyway, it's your man Levon. One love, and I'm out.